What's up, everybody? I'm John Middlekauff. You know what I need you to do. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got content for days reacting to every NFL game all the time, every single day. Subscribe, like the videos. Let's go. Before we dive into any football, though, my friends at Zone Pouches, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Underage sale prohibited. If you're as competitive as I am, you're always looking for something to help you stay dialed in. And for me, that thing is Zone nicotine pouches. You won't catch me without one. I just was slamming my mints, watching that game. I had one before dinner, had one after dinner. I'll have one probably before I go to sleep. So, not to mention 20 pouches per can versus 15 the other guys offer. Choose Zone and dominate the day. Use the promo code number 3 and out 20 on NicoKick.com for 20% off at checkout. Okay, back at it again. It's been a rough little stretch for your boy here, Stuckey. You can find my main man, Stuckey, Action Network, Big Bets on Campus. You got college basketball in full swing, college football coming down the home stretch. I don't even know what week it is for the NFL, but we're headed into the fun time, November, December. It's when you start turning on the TV and you see, I can't relate. It's 80 degrees where I'm at, but watching Wisconsin play Washington, I'm like, that looks so cold. And then the next day, watching the Bears game, I'm like, no, I can't do. But it makes it's football weather. So Stuckey, what is happening?
What's going on? Yeah, I had a good run up until last Sunday. Had a bad Sunday, just a couple bad calls, but that'll happen. It's on to week 11. Crazy that we're already at week 11. More like at least we have Lions Eagles on Sunday night, but the other primetime games and island games, oof. We're recording this on Thursday. We have Jets Pats tonight. We have Commanders Dolphins in Madrid, and then Cowboys Raiders on Monday night. And
that's terrible.
Yeah, that's awful. And we haven't had a really compelling, exciting primetime game since like mid-October, like Steelers Bengals. It's been that long. It's been bad. And like I felt overall that the NFL this year has been like the most boring it's ever been for me. And a lot of that is there's a lot of bad teams. A lot of bad teams in the NFL. And like right now there's 14, I think there's 14 teams. There's 14 teams that make the playoffs. There's 14 teams that are like minus 300 or more or better to make the playoffs, which just shows you that like there's a lot of, and this is only week 11. There's a lot of dregs in the league, and the NFL is like now I'm going to watch every NFL game. But they have me, but when they're like slowly taking over so many different time slots, right? And they're just trying to, we're not even at the like holiday weeks when they're going to be playing on Wednesdays and Fridays, but when they take over so many time slots and the games aren't compelling because there's so many bad teams, it kind of wears on you and it kind of loses its luster a little bit. And then it takes away from like the late slate. So on a Sunday, right, you don't have as many games, and then you're more at risk of just having 3 blowouts like we did last Sunday. So yeah, we've kind of hit the dog days of the season. But this weekend, at least we have a couple really compelling games. But yeah, without betting, it would be way less interesting of a season. And I'm excited for the playoffs, in particular the NFC playoffs, which I think are going to be really exciting this year.
Well, I want to piggyback off that point because let's look at the Monday night game. The Green Bay team has 3 of their losses. I guess they're 3 losses, right? They scored 13 points, 7 points, and like 10 points. So they're not an entertaining team to watch. I don't need 40 points, but
well, neither are the Eagles. The Eagles might be the most boring team in the NFL.
They lead the league in 3 and outs. I didn't know that till Aikman and Buck said that. I was like, Jesus. The more and more I hear AJ, I go, I kind of side with the guy. He's not. It's not just like Antonio Brown craziness. Every time he speaks, it's like he is kind of just saying factual statements here. Like, take me off my fantasy team. Our offense is broken. We have strengths. We don't use them. It's like, well, he's not wrong. He's not saying like, he's not at least publicly calling out Jalen or the coach. He's just saying the facts. And then you look at Denver, who in theory is a dominant, one of the best defenses in recent memory. Bo Nix is unwatchable, right? The 49ers, or the Bears, one of those two teams is going to make the playoffs. And the Bears can look horrendous in these games. The Niners are playing me and you on defense. So it's like, yeah, part of the problem is of the 14 teams, the Chiefs, I mean, they're going to end up with 10 or 11 wins, and they're just kind of a weird version of themselves this year. So it's just a little off kilter. That's why it's like, oh, the Bills, this is their year. And then you watch them play the Dolphins get fucking curb stomped. It's like, is Chauncey Billups coaching them?
Yeah. I mean, then you have
what the hell was that? I loved them 9.5 because I was like, okay, they can take that momentum. And you honestly knew right away, especially when it was raining, you're like, they're not going to come storming back and win this game like 40-25. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those weird games in Miami where like they were just hung over from the big win and were just flat, and they were in a daze, humid. I don't know if they were out in Miami, who knows. But
what about the interception Josh threw? It's like, bro, he wasn't even looking at you. What are you doing?
The fumble on a quarterback sneak. It was just a sloppy all around game. Yeah, I mean, the one seed in the AFC is the Colts, and like they got Daniel Jones at quarterback, who over the past couple weeks has reverted to some old bad habits. They easily could have lost if the kickoff rule wasn't changed to give them an advantage.
I mean, they're probably losing that game. I remember I was actually on Twitter right when Sauce flipped, and you were like, he got cooked. It's like, God, that was not a great look. If anyone, you trade for him to match up against guys like Drake London. Can't cover him. Who can you cover?
Yeah, I mean,
drop the
Jones,
pick.
Jones had a pick, 3 fumbles, was sacked 6 times, and he's starting to look like old Daniel Jones under pressure, which is worrisome going into the playoffs. But yeah, going back to the Eagles and Packers points. The Packers have a Super Bowl caliber defense. I don't think there's any doubting that. And I mean, like you mentioned, the games that they lost, they have 3 losses where they didn't give up more than 16 points.
Yeah, the 16 points for the Panthers, 10 points for the Eagles, and 13 points for the Browns. They lost all those games.
Yeah, they can get pressure. Their coverage on the back end has been excellent. They don't really have any weaknesses on defense. Now, that's what was so intriguing to me about the Packers, adding Parsons with another year in Hafley's system, that this defense could be top 5 caliber to match an offense, which I thought was going to be top 5 caliber. But it's simply not right now. And their injuries haven't helped, right? They have a lot of injuries at wide receiver. Losing Tucker Kraft was killer. And they have to figure out, he was the safety blanket, the red zone guy, the third down guy. They have to figure out life after him. They also just lost their center, Elkin Jenkins, who went on IR. So the injuries are starting to mount up, but they get too conservative at times, and like it's almost, and it was a bit, like you mentioned, it was a huge game for LaFleur, and I thought it was a really bad game from LaFleur in the sense that, I mean, they probably would have won the game if they completed a long pass to Watson, and I think the game was 7-7 or 10-7 at the time, or 3-3, something like that. They completed a long pass to Watson in the red zone, but there was an illegal formation. One of the tackles, Darian Kennard, who went to Kentucky, he came in and like didn't report, and like
it was the play action play where they hit him kind of coming across the middle,
and then they ended up punting on that. Then you had a 4th and 1 where they called the false start on the push, and they had a punt, which was ironic against the Eagles. Apparently they can't see false starts on this play. I don't understand how they can't when everyone else can see it. But then you had the 4th and 1 at the end of the game, and like the second to last drive, the Eagles are calling out the play, and like you're running an inside zone with your center just got hurt, and the Eagles blew it up. And then
they had an illegal formation on that play too. So even if they would have got it, they would have gone back 5 yards.
Legal formation there too.
On 2 massive plays, which the play action one to Watson, that is clearly like a high end Shanahan, McVay, LaFleur, they work on that play, they scheme it up, they have it in a perfect spot, and the players fuck it up. Like, I'm sorry, that is on the coach.
Yeah.
Like, everyone has to know what they're doing to line up. It's one thing if you trip and fall running a route. To not line up or report, it's like, that's embarrassing. That was the first moment where I went, oh, he's in trouble.
Yeah, and then he trying a 64-yarder outdoors with. I mean, I know you're not going to get a Hail Mary, although you're like that's the king of Hail Marys, Green Bay. Now, Love doesn't throw it like Rodgers, but like you, McManus, who's been horrendous all year, who's like has a bum leg. I don't know why they didn't try. They have another kicker on their roster, Havlicek or whatever his name is, who's hit a 62-yard. I don't know why they didn't trot him out there, but he's not making that from 64. So I thought that was a bizarre decision. I mean, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, but I'm a big LaFleur guy, or was coming in the year, but it's been a rough stretch. So yeah, they have to figure out their offense. Now this week against the Giants, you can just like turn around and hand it off to Jacobs a bunch because the Giants can't defend the run. But yeah, a couple weeks, like they go to Detroit, and that was a big swing game for them in the NFC playoff standings. And like, you don't want getting the bye in the NFC is going to be so important. Like you could be matched up with the Rams, or you could be matched up with the Rams or the Seahawks in the first round. The Eagles again, like there's no real easy path in the NFC. And then on the Eagles front too, it's the same thing. Their defense, which had been around average all year, I think is starting to round into form. You saw the addition of Jalen Phillips. It's a Vic Fangio defense. They're going to get better as the year goes on, but that was the offense out of the bye. Looked no different. Like the offensive line isn't as good as last year, so Barkley can't get going. There's no creativity in the offense. Like there's no motion, there's no play action. It's shot. They've used like jumbo packages a little bit recently, which has led to some more success. But as far as like just the overall creativity of the offense, it's like the Packers, it looked like the Packers had the Eagles playbook the entire game. I mean, there was basically just like two good plays. Like they had a dump off to Barkley, which was off script, and the long pass to Devontae Smith. Other than that, the offense didn't do anything the entire game. So as of right now, I mean, it doesn't look like neither one of these offenses are capable of getting through the NFC, but that could change by the end of the season. And we shall see. We'll get another good data point on the Eagles' offense this week against Detroit.
Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. We talk a lot of football here on 3 and Out, but there's so much more to bet on. The NBA is obviously in full swing. I was watching Michigan State and Arkansas play basketball. College hoops is back. Even the NHL is rock and rolling. So if you haven't tried your first bet yet on Hard Rock Bet, there's still time for you to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Just place a $5 bet, and if it hits, you not only get your winnings, but an extra $150 in bonus bets. The Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app is the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. And it's also live in Arizona, Ohio, Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado. So download the Hard Rock Bet app today and make your first deposit. All these lines are presented to you by my friends at Hard Rock Bet. Let's dive into another team that's pretty, I would say, polarizing right now, because a month ago you'd been like, this could be a Super Bowl. Tampa going to Buffalo. Obviously, Tampa's had a bunch of injuries, so it's hard to judge them. I think we all believe when they're fully healthy, they're really good. Buffalo, I'm not so sure. And I think for the first time, like with LaFleur, I went, this McDermott thing, like you can only have so many runs before people, because you become a product of your own success. Like, yeah, you've won this division. Well, now it looks like you might not win the division. It's like, well, your offense dominated. Well, now it's struggling. And then you go to Miami. Everyone's making fun of their franchise, their coach. And not only do they clown you, you got the head coach driving by your team's bar, like laughing at you guys. Those are the type moments that, as cheesy as it might sound, like owners pay attention to this shit. And all of a sudden you don't win the division. Something weird happens depending on the matchup, wild card weekend. Now I would like Buffalo like at Indy. Probably, like, I'm not betting against Josh Allen against Daniel Jones, but who knows? What if they just have a way better team? We saw with Baltimore the last 2 times you guys have played. Like, Baltimore has no business losing the Bills. They have better players, but Josh and turnovers. I'm tempted to take Tampa in this spot, but I just I don't trust what Buffalo team I'm getting. You'd think they're going to be motivated because coming off this loss at home. But what if this thing just starts getting weird? What if this is just that time where this was the pivot point and this ends up costing kind of the, Sean McDermott, who's done a really good job. I mean, he helped resurrect this franchise with Josh, but it does feel like they've kind of petered out now.
Well, the favorite, the matchup to that we're most likely to get, because now the Patriots have a decent lead in the division with a game in hand, with a win in Buffalo, and they have a really easy schedule the rest of the way. So the most likely endpoint for the Bills, if they make the playoffs, I'm assuming they do, is the 5 seed. And that means they are most likely going to Baltimore, who's favored, a decent favorite to win the AFC North. And the Ravens are probably going to get, if they do, they'll get to like 9 or 10 wins, which means they'll probably be the 4 seed. So yeah, Buffalo, instead of with this really easy schedule that they had, the favorite to get the 1 seed going into the season, instead of having a bye and home field advantage throughout, it looks like as of right now, just based on how it looks, they might have to go to Baltimore in the first round, which is not ideal. So yeah, I mean, I do expect a game effort from the Bills. It looks like a lot of their defenders were practicing in a limited fashion yesterday, so I think they'll be relatively healthy on that side of the ball. Usually this team loses like at home once every 2 years. And they did it this year against the Patriots, but we saw them beat the Chiefs. The Bucs just are not, they're kind of broken right now. I mean, if you look over the past month, and a lot of that has to do with health, right? Their offensive line isn't healthy. Bucky Irving remains out. And without Bucky Irving, like the run game goes in the tank. And the run game just isn't as good without Liam Cohen there. You also have Mike Evans on IR.
What do you say Bucky Irving was a big part of Liam Cohen getting a job? Like his success and his how they were one of the worst rushing teams for years. He gets there, looks awesome. Liam becomes a star.
Yep, and then like the Bucs last year were like the best screen team of all time too. If you look at like advanced numbers, and Bucky Irving was a huge part of that. So without him, like the run game, the screen game isn't as good. But more importantly, I don't think Baker's healthy. And I mean, they came out of the bye against New England, and then they got a late garbage time touchdown, but they only had 16 points before then. Baker hasn't scrambled in 4 weeks. So he was dealing with like a groin and some so I figured after the bye he would look a lot fresher, more healthy, but he didn't really scramble again last week. So I'm not sure he's and a lot of what the Bucs do is and I know Baker had good numbers last week, but it's not a great Patriots pass defense. But I'm just talking about just watching him. He wasn't scrambling at all. I mean, he had no rush attempts, and a lot of what keeps their drives going and creates explosive plays is when he's moving around, and he's going to need to do that against the Bills, who can get pressure. So the Tampa Bay offense right now is just not a well-oiled machine, and it's not operating at peak efficiency. I mean, they put up 30 on San Fran, but that San Francisco, that's when Warner went down. They can't stop anybody. Then you saw them go to Detroit, and Baker just looked off, and Detroit was playing a bunch of backups in the secondary against New Orleans the following week. Yeah, they scored 23, but there was like a pick six. Baker was 15 to 24 for 150 yards. They only rushed for 3 yards a carry. I mean, they finished that game with 212 total yards of offense. And then last week, it just didn't look all the way there. So if I had to bet this game, my favorite look at it is probably the under. It's come down a little bit, but there's going to be some weather. And the way to attack this Bills defense is with the run. They struggle to defend the run, but Tampa's rushing offense, not there right now. Baker, not really running and moving that well. And the Bills want to run the ball a lot, sometimes too much when you have Josh Allen. But the Bucs arguably have the best run defense in the NFL. So I think there's a lot of paths to where, Both defenses are getting stops. You throw in the weather here as well. Let me look at the updated weather. Yeah, there's going to be wind, which might dampen some of the downfield shots that both of these quarterbacks are certainly capable of hitting. Kincaid banged up for the Bills as well. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't blame you for taking the points, but I think my best look is the under in that game. There's something off with this Tampa offense right now, but the Bills have been very Jekyll and Hyde all year.
Well, I got to tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, Game Time. If you want to go to a professional football game, if I'm a Patriot fan, I might have taken the last couple of years off. I'm back. If you want to go see your team at home, on the road, obviously any college games, Game Time's the best. You can get into one of these games for as low as $100. There are no hidden fees. The number you see wherever you click on the ticket in the stadium, in the arena, is the price you pay at checkout. So many of these apps have these hidden fees. You see a price, then you go to checkout, and the number is 20, 30% more. That's not the case. The number you see is the number you pay. They got flash deals. I cannot recommend these guys enough. So take the guesswork out of buying professional football tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use the code JOHN, that's JOHN, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price is guaranteed. The NFC West is doing a little round robin these last 2 weeks. Seattle hosted Arizona. The Niners hosted the Rams. Now the Niners are going to Arizona and Seattle is going to LA. Kyle said yesterday, before we dive into the big game, Kyle said yesterday that all signs, unless there's a setback in the next 24, 48 hours, that Purdy's probably going to start, which I do think is a little risky in the sense that Mac Jones has been really good. And especially, he has destroyed the Rams, right? If the 49ers had their normal defense, they would have been right in that game. They just had no chance to slow them down. But offensively, they kind of did whatever they wanted. And, Purdy coming back, Pearsall might come back. The Cardinals obviously lose Harrison. They're kind of in shambles. But I would imagine, I guess that final score didn't kind of hold up of like the 30 or 40 point beatdown because Darnold kind of fell apart in the second half. So it looked a lot closer than it was. I mean, it was 35-0 pretty quick. That feels like one of the faster 35-0 accomplishments in league history because it was 20-1-0 before you could even blink. And I guess listen, if Purdy comes back, you just better win. Because if you were to lose and he were to play bad, obviously when you pay a guy $180 million, I'm not acting like there's a quarterback controversy, but the other quarterback was playing well. You bring this guy in off the shelf for basically a month and a half. Now it's going to be a Niner home game in Arizona, especially with how shitty Arizona is. Might be like 95% Niner fans. But I do think there's some pressure if Purdy plays to look kind of good because the other guy's kind of rolling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted.
I'm taking the Niners -3, but that defense makes me nervous. I just wonder if the Cardinals are starting to do a little 1-2-3 Rosarita.
Yeah, I'm tempted to take the 3, but it's the Cardinals are a mess right now. I mean, it's how many times can they throw to McBride here? But I mean, the 49ers cannot generate any pressure at all now. Their defense can't stop anybody. I mean, I don't care who you have out there. The Cardinals are probably going to move the ball. It's going to be like Greg Dortch, Michael
Zay
Wilson.
Jones broke his leg or something.
Yeah, no Harrison. They have some offensive line questions. The defense, too, is also really banged up. They were without 2 starting corners last week, Mac Wilson.
They couldn't even practice on Wednesday. They had too many injuries.
Yeah, their defensive line has injuries, linebacker, secondary. So they just might be too decimated to do anything. But it's hard to trust this 49ers laying, asking them to win by margin with the state of their defense. I mean, it has been, they just have no one left. The injuries have been horrifying. And this was we talked about this all year. This was a stars and scrubs built defense that, they had a massive, the biggest free agency exodus of defensive players money-wise in the offseason that we've ever seen. So they said, okay, well, we still have Bosa. We still have Warner. Well, now you don't. And then you even have more injuries after that. So, yeah, it's a tough scene for that defense. And the other thing that I'll mention, because it is a bit risky, and with Purdy because number one, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't put him out there unless he was 100% healthy. But I mean, maybe at home against the Panthers next week would be a good spot. But this is a nice runway. Like you're at Arizona, you're home against the Panthers before you go to Cleveland, where you lost last year, and that defense is going to be good at home. But there's potential for rust. Like we see this all the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Yeah, who have been off for a while, and now you're taking this offense that has been humming. I mean, over the past month and a half, I mean, what Mac Jones threw for what 650 combined yards against the Rams in a split, and the offense has not been the problem. And against the Texans, that's like the best defense in the league, and the defense couldn't get off the field in that game, and the Texans were playing without all their receivers. So you got to remember that game. Like Arizona doesn't have the receivers. The Texans didn't have any receivers in that game. A really bad offensive line, and basically just held the ball the entire game because the 49ers couldn't get off the field. So there's a path where the Cardinals can do something similar. But that's what I would worry about with Purdy. It's like that first game, is there rust? And then like, how long does it take for him to get going and shake it off? Because with this defense, you might be in a hole.
My logic on this one's pretty simple. We talked about it last week. I think the difference between Seattle and LA, and it was on full display with Mac Jones throwing with his eyes closed for 300 yards to random guys. The LA secondary is just not very good. And I think Seattle secondary is really good. Now, I think the thing you would be nervous of, like, obviously Darnold, I don't even count the second half, has been remarkable. And Stafford feels like he's playing. It's pretty crazy to think back like 3 months ago that it's like, I might be out on the Rams because his back's fucked. And it's like, well, he looks fine to me.
Playing at MVP level.
But it doesn't even feel like he was rope-a-doping. It's like his back was legitimately hurt. But unlike Kershaw, just like magically went away and he's fine. And Devontae did get banged up in that game. I saw this morning that it looks like he's going to play. He's got 8 touchdowns. I mean, if you sign a guy and he brings you 12 or 14 touchdowns, a running back or a wide receiver, that's an incredible signing, So, and Devontae and him look like they have Aaron Rodgers level rapport. But I just think the difference in this game is Seattle secondary. I mean, LA can't cover anybody. So I love Seattle +3. I also think, I'm not saying like 49er level, but I do think there's going to be a lot of Seahawks fans there. And this is the thing with these LA teams. They don't really have home field advantages. This is not, I would argue it's like the worst in the league for teams that matter.
Yeah. I mean, and Seattle's traveled really well under McDonald. I mean, they've arguably been better on the road than at home in his tenure. And
they lost like one game. I mean, they barely.
Yeah, I think they were like 9-1 over the past 10 road games. I made this case last week when I was talking about the 49ers Rams over, in that I think that the Rams defense is overrated because over the past month, they played Tyler Shuck and the Saints. They played the Ravens with Cooper Rush.
Shuck looked pretty good last week, though. You watched the highlights of that game? You watched Shuck last week? It looked pretty good.
He did. He showed some signs that at least the Saints fans have something to look forward to, at least for the time being, in another lost season. But based on who they played, and then you look like, remember the first time Mac Jones without Kittle, without his receivers, carved them up, and then he did it again. Their weakness is clearly their secondary. And then I could also make the case that the Seahawks, their defense is underrated at the moment because they played a large stretch of the season with a lot of injuries in the secondary. They've had some guys step up. They're getting healthier on the back end. And this is a front, much like the Rams, that can get pressure without blitzing, which gives you so much flexibility and allows you to cover so much more efficiently. So, yeah, I mean, I think that the clear weak unit in this game is the 49ers. The Rams secondary. So taking the 3, I don't hate it. We'll see if now this is a completely different offense for Darnold.
Can the Rams win the Super Bowl, let alone the division, with a secondary that just can't cover people in a passing league?
It's going to be tough, but like if you look at what passing offense really scares you in the NFC playoffs. So it's certainly not the Eagles, right? Like they can, I mean, they should have won in Philly. But again, their
See,
secondary, Philly's offense came to life for it. It was like the only time they put up like 26 points in the second half. But that's not,
Seattle, the Niners, if that's like a 2-7, let's say they won the division, would just they're just comfortable playing them.
yeah, but I just don't, the Niners defense is not going to be in a state
True.
where they can beat the Rams, I don't think. Um, so
Lions.
Detroit is probably the team that you'd worry about. Maybe Tampa if they're healthy. So there are some teams. There are some games where the Rams are probably going to have to outscore, just win in a shootout. I think in the NFC playoffs, um, depending on their path. But
They actually match up pretty well against the Eagles then, huh? Like the secondary doesn't kill you if they're not. It's not like the
yeah,
Eagles are just
I
throwing
mean they
four
almost
yards
won
away.
in Philly in the snow
I know.
last year, which with like that was not an ideal situation and road environment in the snow playing Barkley. Um, and they had a chance to win that game at the end. And then obviously we're up 26-7 this year in Philly. So yeah, I think it's a decent matchup for the Rams that they wouldn't mind having to play the Eagles. But these are two, these are really interesting teams that they're kind of ahead of the curve. And it's kind of the new, most efficient way to move the ball in the NFL is using heavy personnel and throwing out of it and just causing, and the Ravens have done this for the past couple of years, which has made their offense such a matchup nightmare because you've had years of 11 personnel spread and defenses have adjusted, right? And then that's how they built their defenses. Well, now, I mean, it's a cyclical league and it's cat and mouse, robber and cop, criminal and cop type of just back and forth. And now offenses are starting to adjust and go a little heavier and throwing out of that. That's what the Seahawks have done a lot of. Like they don't run the ball very well, but they use that run to kind of set up the pass, set up their play action out of heavy personnel, create mismatches. And the Rams have really leaned into it over the past month. Over the past month, they've used 13 personnel 40% of the time, three tight ends on the field. They're like, and they're just ripping defenses apart with it. That's a fascinating chess match in this game. Not only do you have McVay versus McDonald, which is awesome, but you have these two teams that are, kind of ahead of the rest of the NFL with how they're moving the ball. But both offenses know, both teams know that they play against it. So who can make the better adjustments against these unique offensive formations? Really interesting. But I don't mind taking the points here. I can't wait for this game. These are two teams that keep winning and keep covering. They're both, I believe, both 7-2 straight up and 7-2 against the spread. Two best in the league. So yeah, I mean, taking the field goal, I think makes sense.
Well, that's the millennial coaching matchup with McDonald and McVay. This is the boomer coaching matchup with Andy and Peyton. I looked earlier today that now, granted, week 18 last year, the Chiefs had already wrapped it up, and I don't know if we're playing for much. Bo Nix, I think, threw for over 300 yards against them. But I do remember him playing like decently well against them in the game that they missed a field goal or had the field goal blocked right at home in the middle of the season. Now, the version that we have seen lately is just it's been tough to watch. I saw some clips of his press conference, kind of trying to downplay, criticism and just trying to have fun and the entertainment value. Like this, just we make too big a deal. It's like, Bo, you've been making millions of dollars playing this sport since college, buddy. Like this isn't just like fun and games here. Like this is a huge business. You're feeling the pressure. You're clearly not playing well. You lost your confidence. But this isn't like an uncommon opponent, right? For a young player, he has seen these guys a couple times. I would imagine this is the type of team that over the offseason, in OTAs or whatever, they put some periods in. This is something that is talked about in that building probably over and over and over, through training camp, right? Before the season starts. So this is a huge spot. I'm tempted to just take the home team with the points, but I would be kicking myself if all of a sudden, it's 17-7 and he's just skipping balls and looking like he's looked. It's like, how did I put any money on Bo Nix? But just out of principle, They have what, 46 sacks this year. The defense is awesome. Chiefs, I guess they get Simmons back, which is big. So it's hard to bet against the Chiefs, even though it's like, God, they're a huge home dog and they're 8-2. It's pretty crazy with the best defense in the league.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. They're a little banged up, the Broncos as well. I mean, I don't think Surtain's going to play again. Singleton at linebacker. They have a couple injuries at linebacker, but Surtain is the big one. Like their defense is not the same without him. Now they've won 2 straight, but they beat the Raiders and they beat the Texans after Stroud got hurt. That's who they played since Surtain went out. Not exactly, they're the best offenses in the league. Now you're going up against Mahomes. This sets up as just a pure Chiefs spot. Like they're coming off of a bye. It's close to a must win. I mean, it's insane. As of right now, the Chiefs aren't in the playoffs. The season ended today. They're not in the playoffs. And if they lose this game, like the division.
Well, if they lose and the Jags beat the Chargers, they would be in some trouble, wouldn't they?
Yes. Yeah. Jags, Chargers, huge game. The biggest leverage game of the weekend. Jags win. They go, I think, 60% to make the playoffs. If they lose, it's down to like 20. If the Chargers win, it's up to like 85, 90.
Jesus.
If they lose, it's a coin flip. Huge game among teams that are battling each other because you get like the head-to-head as well.
So who are the Chiefs rooting for in that game?
That's
probably the Jags to just go away.
That's a good question. They lost to both. So
I looked at the Chargers schedule this morning. It actually gets pretty hard. Like, I mean, they still got a lot of good teams on. It's not like they have a bunch of like Raiders and Panthers on there.
Yeah, and the Chiefs host them. That's a tough one. I mean, the Jags schedule at the end gets pretty easy. That was a killer loss to the Texans when they blew that lead. But they have the Jets, they have the Titans twice, they have the Cardinals after this. So, there's like 4 really winnable games.
Chargers still play the Eagles. They go to Kansas City. They have to go to Dallas. They play the Texans, which is going to be a tough matchup for them with their O-line.
Yeah.
And they go to Denver. So, I mean, some of these matchups with their O-line are going to be really, really challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, they might be rooting for the Jags. But that's a good question. I'll have to look into that.
They just need to win before they can root for anybody.
Yes. But like this sets up as a Chiefs spot. I mean, the Broncos have been, they've been fool's gold all year. I mean, the defense is really good, but now it's not healthy. And I mean, you're talking about a team and Bo Nix is playing horrendously, like so many off-target throws and so many misses downfield. And this is a team, I mean, you look at their when he's looked good, and Bo Nix's numbers get into sad territory if you remove the Cowboys game at home and the Bengals game at home. And those are 2 defenses that are historically bad. You look at the rest of the schedule, I mean, they beat the Jets by 2, who threw for -10 passing yards. They beat the Giants by 1. They were down. They didn't score in the first 3 quarters. And the Giants had to go prevent. All their secondary guys get hurt. And they come back. They win by 1. They beat the Texans by 3, probably lose that game if Stroud doesn't get hurt. They only put up 18 points. And then they only put up 10 against the Raiders defense, and it didn't look great. So, yeah, I mean, they're a ticking time bomb. And this is a team.
He was horrendous on Thursday Night Football.
It was bad.
He really was.
They have so many come from. I mean, I think they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-1, 7-2 in 1-score games. Like they've become the Chiefs, and the Chiefs can't win a close game this year. Now, granted, they went 11-0 last year. That stuff tends to revert, but the Chiefs are 0-2, 0-3. The Chiefs are 0-4 in 1-possession games this year. So this all sets up for like a Chiefs close win. But the numbers matter, and like this is 3.5. That's expensive. I mean, you're paying for the spot, and you're paying for everyone pretty much knowing that the Broncos are a bit of a fraud and banged up, and the Chiefs really need this game. So I would imagine like the sharper side is the Broncos, but I'll probably have the Chiefs some form or fashion, maybe like a square money line parlay or something. But I can't get to the number to like show value in wanting to lay 3.5, 4 points on the road. Denver's still a great home field advantage, still a really good defense that can get pressure. So, but if Knicks is a disaster, they're going to get blown out. So he's going to have to play better.
I'm going Lions Sunday Night Football. Looking at the schedule, if you just looked at the Eagles, if they split the Packers-Lions game, they were going to be in great shape because they got Dallas, they get the Raiders, they get the Commanders, they get the Bears at home, on Thanksgiving, Black Friday. They get the Commanders again. They set it up for like thinking Eagles Commanders were going to come down to the wire. And now the Eagles get to lick their chops, with playing them 2 of the last 3 games. Now, they're one really hard game after the Lions is at Buffalo. But I don't think this is must win when you kind of look around the NFC, even though obviously you would say going into it, they're probably more likely to win at home against Detroit outdoors than they would travel to Green Bay. And, they easily could have lost that game if Green Bay just pulls their head out of their ass. But I don't know, man. I just Dan Campbell, hard to judge playing the Dan Quinn, just atrocious defense right now. But I think Dan Campbell might have found a little mojo. And what I think is big is Dan's really good at understanding his players. And I think they started turning on the other guy, right? So it's like Dan's been part of the game plan. I'm not comparing him to Ben Johnson as a play caller, but like he works hand in hand. Like he knew he's on the headset. So it's like he knows his guys really well. I just think that's a huge motivational lift of like when players, especially veteran, all pro, Pro Bowl level guys, turn on a coach, especially if he's somewhat of an outsider. I saw this with the 49ers when Fred Warner and Nick Bosa were like, we don't fuck with this Steve Wilkes guy. Like we just don't believe he knows what he's doing. And when that happens, it's even high end guys can kind of go into a tank. We're all human beings. And I do wonder if Dan Campbell just gave them a little life putting on those glasses and calling, I don't know, just pretty basic plays to Jameson Williams.
Yeah, they finally leaned into the pass more. I talked about this last week. I mean, I bet the Commanders. What an amazing bet last week. But I talked about how the Lions offense had gone into the tank for the past month, and they couldn't run the ball at all. A lot of that had to do with the offensive line not being as good, offensive line injuries, the interior not being as good. But if you look at like pass rate over expectation, this is the first game all year that they were positive. Now, and Morton, I didn't like the play calling, and then they went and changed it, and you had Campbell. Where I'm struggling with this game is, I mean, the Eagles are also like a ticking time bomb. I mean, they've gone 6-1 in one possession games. They could have lost. I mean, you had Kelsey drop that pass in the end zone. The Rams, the blocked field goal. You had the Vikings who were in the red zone like 7 times and only came away with like two scores. They could have easily lost that game. And then the Packers, like that was a coin flip game. They're 6-1 in one possession games. And the reason is that their offense, I mean, almost unless they're playing the Giants who can't stop the run, their offense on a weekly basis they almost go like a whole half without scoring a point.
You agree their offensive line is not, I mean, it's a shell of what it was last year. Lane Johnson's in and out of the lineup with always getting banged up. And
the interior's worse.
Center guard is not as good.
Way worse. Miss Becton. Juergens has been out. And Lane Johnson's clearly just not 100% healthy. So, yeah, their offensive line. And that's why if you look at Barkley's numbers, they've fallen off a cliff as far as like yards before contact. And he just doesn't have the same lanes that he did. And the offense, yeah, I mean, this offense is hard to trust right now. But you got to give credit to the Eagles for just finding ways to win games.
I said this yesterday. Sirianni has kind of turned into what Tomlin would have been in like 12, 13, 14. Like he can handle a lot of shit. This A.J. Brown thing would break a lot of young coaches. Like it's pretty just, you know how Philly is. There's just a lot going on. He is 55-22. I get he's got a lot of good players and a great general manager. But like, I listen, I've been a hater over the years. You're 55-22. It's like, and you won a Super Bowl. What are you going to say?
Yeah, I think he's underrated in some of the in-game stuff that he does. with like the game management, clock management. I think he's very underrated in that aspect. But where I'm struggling with this game is you nailed it. How much? So the Lions offense, which hasn't been trending well, Dan Campbell goes to the play caller, and they did change some things in how they approached the game plan last week and how often they were throwing. But how much of that is, okay, Dan Campbell and the Lions offense, or was it the Washington defense who looked, first of all, they were really bad. Second of all, like you have Payne, your only good player, like throws a punch and gets thrown out, like just signs that they didn't want to be there. So how much do I like take? I don't know what to take away from that game. How much was it Washington? How much was it Detroit? Tough to tell. I do think it's going to be better, but by what magnitude? And then you have the Eagles defense, which for the full season wasn't great. It was, by some advanced metrics, it was like a league average group. They weren't bad, but they weren't great, and they weren't as good as last year. But they just didn't have the same edge rush. Their secondary wasn't as good. Like after some of the losses that they had in the offseason. But this is a Fangio defense coming out of the bye. You add Jalen Phillips, who looked really good and provided much needed juice off the edge. But how much of that was Green Bay's offensive being broken and their injuries? Because, at the end, they were throwing to, like, Bo Melton. There's a reason they were trying to make him a corner. So, like, how much do I take away from that Eagles defense? Are they back to, like, being the elite unit? So I don't know. I don't have a strong feel on this game. There is some sharp money on the Eagles early in the week. Let me see what that line's at right now.
The thing is, the Lions, Amon-Ra is their quote-unquote one, but he's kind of a unique. It's not like he's CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson. They move them all around. Where Mitchell, right, is like tailor-made. You just put him on CeeDee Lamb, or CeeDee Lamb lines up in the same places. Where the Lions kind of move their offensive weapons kind of all around, right? So it's a little unique that they would rather just have Mitchell guarding CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson or whatever, but that's not really the Lions' deal.
Yeah. It's a tough game
because he's awesome. He's good. That's a good
pick. he's amazing. Let me see you do have Goff outdoors. Like I could see the case where it's just like you trust the Eagles defense at home against Goff outdoors, but it's hard to trust that Eagles offense right now. Let me see. The weather is.
I do think their defense, like watching that Monday night game, is like Jalen Hunt. He looks like he's got a chance to be a pretty good player. You add Phillips, obviously Jalen Carter. They have multiple linebackers, right?
Yeah, linebackers are really good.
And you got Mitchell and Cooper. And then if you just kind of rotate the other guys, like most teams don't have like 7 good corners. I never feel that like much sympathy. It's like, well, we're missing a corner. It's like, well, yeah, most teams are rolling out random corners. Like, welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, look, yeah, Hunt. Nolan Smith. Dean.
Yeah, he's Zach back Vaughn. Too.
Yeah. Now you have like Campbell coming off the edge with Phillips, so they're starting to get some more.
And they got Vic.
Yeah, now they can't, like, if they lose, the one position where they cannot lose anyone is they can't lose Carter or Davis. Like the D line, their down defensive lineman still has like no depth. It's like rookies behind them, but the rest of the defense is starting to fill out. I'm interested to see. They also signed Howie. Generally makes very smart, sharp moves outside of getting Jair Alexander, who's stepped away.
Do you get a redo on that one, or do the Ravens still get their pick?
But they did bring in Michael Carter, who's the cornerback Michael Carter. So like, does that enable them over time to then play DeJean and Williams on the outside, and then play Carter in the nickel? That's an interesting potential wrinkle, because their biggest weakness, one of their biggest weaknesses on defense, besides edge rush, which looks like to be improving on the upswing, is their second corner position has been a real weakness, and one that other teams have really attacked, because additionally their safeties aren't great. So that could be an added wrinkle. You also have to keep in mind, like, Juergens is banged up. All their offensive linemen, all their offensive linemen besides Mayotta are on the injury report. So how healthy is Lane Johnson? The numbers with and without Lane Johnson are stunning. And they've also been going jumbo a lot, which has helped the offense a bit. But without Lane Johnson, that's much harder to do. and you can't do that as frequently. But like Steen, Dickerson, they're also on the injury report. So there's some things to watch here. I just don't have a great feel. I think but I mean, it's just hard. Like the Lions are probably going to score. They score on mostly everyone. And if the Eagles offense goes into a tank for a half, like it's eventually going to burn them. And if this Campbell bump is real, then I can see the Eagles getting upset. But I just don't have a strong feel. Like I really want another data point where of this Eagles defense out of the bye after some of the additions and what this Lions offense looks with a new play caller.
One game that's tough because a little bit like playing the Washington Commanders, the Giants defense is pretty horrendous. And Caleb made some awesome plays with his feet. They obviously had a bunch of drops, but it's freezing cold. You're going to drop the ball sometimes outdoors. But the Vikings, I mean, there was that one play. I think was it the Humphrey pick? I think it was the Humphrey pick, not the Starks pick, where Jefferson just quit. He's like, I'm not even chasing him. And sometimes I'll defend like it's like I look at the quarterback I have to play with right now. What are we doing? So sometimes I will defend like obviously Antonio Brown. There's a level of like Terrell Owens. But like I don't mind Jefferson being like, hey guys, what the hell did you just sign me up for? Because this is a joke. This is not a 2-win team developing a quarterback here. We were tailor-made, ready to win. And this guy, he can have a good play, and then he can just make a play like he's the worst quarterback in the NFL. But the Bears have stretches where, one, their defense is horrendous. And their defense is not. Jackson Dart was destroying them. And if Brian Daboll just didn't hate Russell Wilson with the power of 1,000 suns and accepts a penalty and scores instead of kicking the field goal, I would imagine that they win that game, and that probably led to Daboll getting fired. But I don't have a feel for this thing. I guess I would just lean the Bears. But again, you have to take the Bears' record with a grain of salt with how they look throughout most of these games. They're pulling games out of their ass with Caleb running around. But there's no way, and I mean no way, I could put money on J.J. McCarthy.
Well, I did. You could have guessed that.
Because you like Flores against Caleb.
McCarthy's looked really bad. There's no doubt about that. In his defense, I mean, my defense is he gets to play the Bears defense. The Bears defense, which has been like if you remove turnovers, I mean, this is a team, they're plus 14 on the season on turnover margin. Like they have 8 fumbles, they've only lost 2. Their opponents have 9 fumbles, they've recovered 7. They've also played the easiest strength of schedule in the league. I mean, their wins are the Cowboys, the Commanders by 1 because of fumbles, the Raiders by 1 because of Geno turnovers. They were outgained by like 300 yards in that game. The Bengals, the Saints, and the Giants, they needed miraculous comebacks against the Raiders, the Commanders, the Bengals, and the Giants. I mean, they lose that game if Dart doesn't get hurt, and that's like you could argue that those are the 6 worst defenses in the league. And like if you remove turnovers, the Bears are 30th in EPA per play on defense, basically right with the Bengals and Cowboys. If you look at early downs, so first and second down without turnovers, which are more predictive than third downs, more variance, they're dead last in EPA per play, worse than the Bengals and the Cowboys. Like this defense can't get pressure. They can't stop the run. The Kyler Gordon and Jalen Johnson, 2 of their best players, are on IR at their corner position. So I think that even the Vikings and McCarthy can move the ball, even if they want to run it. The Bears can't cover the receivers. Hopefully McCarthy can get them the ball. And I will say, in fairness, the Vikings' past 5 games have been against the Eagles, Ravens, Chargers, Lions, and Packers. A lot of good defenses in there, a lot of good teams. Meanwhile, the Bears have been playing nothing but clowns. They even got to play the Ravens with Snoop Huntley, who went up and down the field on them. So, yeah, I mean, the Bears have 4 crazy comebacks with an easiest schedule in the league. They could easily be a 3-6 team. And Vikings, with their defense is going to be the best unit on the field. Their run D's improved since they've gotten healthier with Van Ginkel and Cashman. And look, Caleb's playing better this year, and the run game's been really good. But you got to remember, he's played horrendous defenses all year. And you watch him, he's still bailing from the pocket. He's still not efficient. He's making some really nice plays downfield, and they're explosive. But he's bailing from the pocket almost immediately. You'll see him just like 180 out and then running around. I don't think that can work against the Flores defense. This is still a huge home field advantage for the Vikings and like a must win. McCarthy's hard to trust as a favorite, but this Bears team and Caleb hasn't been good on the road. This Bears team is due to not have some bounces go their way, and I think even with McCarthy, this Vikings offense can move the ball pretty much at will against the Bears.
O'Connell gets a little pass happy, I mean that's he's got a little Andy Reid McVay. He would rather pass it every single play than ever run it.
Yes.
And I do think that is very difficult on a quarterback who was trained, and I would say, probably got a graduate level degree playing at Michigan for Harbaugh and crew. He learned playing football the complete opposite. So this is a stark contrast of like, hey man, you got Jerry Rice over here, and you got Joey Galloway over here, and we're going bombs away. It's like that's not how this kid learned how to play. So in fairness to JJ, they're asking him to do something and he's barely played in the NFL. He's coming off an injury. He's playing good opponents. It's not going well. Once I saw Jefferson, just like I was like, there's a lot going on there.
It was bad last week, but it should be much easier.
It's not like the Ravens even played that great. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no. Lamar. Like their defense still can't stop the run. It's like the Vikings were able to run it. I think they averaged like 6 yards per carry. But McCarthy
doesn't run it,
and McCarthy just missed a bunch of throws. It was not a good look. But I will say the Ravens secondary has legit elite talent. The Bears have one of the worst. I mean, they're 31st in EPA per dropback. It's a bad secondary, and they don't get pressure. So if there's ever an opportunity for McCarthy to move the ball, and his one good quarter did come against the Bears in his first game when they came back to win that game, which I think just says more about the Bears defense. So yeah, this will be a much easier test for him.
You got any upset alert on Oklahoma going into Titletown? Do you think that defense, because Alabama can't run the ball?
Can't run the ball. Their defense isn't great. Like you can run on them. Oklahoma's found a bit of a rushing attack. Mobile quarterbacks can give Alabama problems. It's an interesting spot in that Alabama's revenge from last year. Like Oklahoma,
beat the shit out of them, didn't they?
Dominated them. But this game is much more important for Oklahoma in that like Alabama's probably going to the college football playoff regardless. Even if they lose this game, they're still okay. Oklahoma needs this game. I mean, maybe Oklahoma still gets in with 3 losses, but it gets dicier. And they're coming off of a bye. One of their best defensive players is questionable, Mason Thomas, but this defense is nasty. Bama can't run it. Being one-dimensional against Oklahoma is a tough task for Ty Simpson, who's played really well. I will say, like, the Oklahoma defense is one of the top maybe 2 or 3 in the country, but they've been a little vulnerable against the teams that can throw it. Like, we saw Ole Miss move it. We saw Tennessee throw it. The rest of the teams they played, Texas, South Carolina, Kent State, Auburn, Temple, Michigan, Illinois State, can't really throw it. So can Oklahoma get enough hits on Simpson and cause some mistakes here? That'll probably be the difference. Alabama is also really, really good early on in games. Oklahoma can't get too far behind here. I would like a 7. I think Oklahoma's going to have a shot. Their special teams are also much better. They have a really good kicker, one of the best kickers in the country. Alabama's special teams.
The guy that wears no pants?
Yeah, and he wears a arm sleeve. He's a really, really good kicker. That could get them some hidden points. Alabama struggled on special teams this year. The start is important. I would like a 7 here. To be honest, the line has come down off of 7, which I think does make sense. But I might look to back Oklahoma live if Bama goes up, which they often do. And I anticipate Venables will have a good game plan. This is on defense. This will be a great chess match, especially coming off the bye. But I assume that so will DeBoer and Grubb offensively in the script. And I'm sure they've been itching to get their get back on Oklahoma. So yeah, really good game. It's a really boring college slate other than this game and 2 similar games. Then you have Texas Georgia can afford the loss. Texas really needs the win.
Coming in with some momentum. Arch just had the best game of his career. They beat the crap. I mean, the final score is 34-31, but didn't Vandy score like 20 fourth quarter points? They beat the crap out of Vandy in that game. Arch was awesome.
Yeah, Arch has looked much better, but the two teams he's faced is like Vandy, who look gassed, and then Mississippi State. So how much of it is Arch improving? Now, I will say that Texas offensive line has been a lot to blame for some of their offensive struggles, but Georgia can't get pressure. I mean, their defense outside the top 100 in pressure rate, bottom 10 sack rate. So that should help Arch here. The Texas defense is really good.
This was of 2024. I remember probably the most intense, just sitting down for a game and buckling up for this matchup last year. But Michael Williams and obviously Javon Walker are gone. And Walker, what do you have, like 3.5 sacks in that regular season game?
Well, Georgia had 13 sacks in 2 games against Texas. They swept Texas last year, once in the regular season, once in the SEC championship game. Georgia has 11 total sacks this year.
That's crazy.
Total. They had 13 against Texas, and Texas had an elite offensive line. So the pressure rate's way down, so it should be easier on Arch.
Javon Walker in those games looked like, I don't know, Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah, was dominant. So what like is you have Arch coming off of a bye too. So
Jalen, I keep calling him Javon, like the Raiders wide receiver.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, I think Arch has looked better. He's settled in, but he did get to play Vandy and Mississippi State. This is a team that still couldn't move the ball at all at Kentucky. Should have lost that game. And you got to remember, at Mississippi State, they were down 17 in the fourth quarter before he turned it on. And then Georgia just went into Mississippi State and dominated them. Would like to get a 7 here. I will say, though, Georgia's games all go the same way. Like, they go down in the first quarter of every game. All SEC games except Kentucky, they've been down. They've been outscored in the first quarter, I think, by 20 on the season in their SEC games. So they come out flat. Their defense is just not. It's not a national title contend caliber defense. Not that they would still win it all, sure, but it's going to have to be on the backs of their offense. The defense is just nowhere close to like your older brothers, Georgia elite defenses. But they go down almost every game, and then Kirby has like carried them to like Georgia and Alabama are very similar to me. Their defenses are down a bit for different reasons. Their offenses, Georgia can at least run it, Alabama can't. But they've won a number of games they easily could have lost. And a lot of that goes back to coaching. There were 2 very well-coached teams. But Kirby, in particular, is the best in-game adjuster in college football. So if you see Georgia down early, usually a good live bet. I mean, they've been incredible in the fourth quarters, in the second halves. You saw them shut out Alabama. So I would lean taking the points, looking for Georgia live, but would like to get a 7 there again. And last one I'll mention, I did fade my Ravens. Browns at home. Browns home defense with weather. Like, I don't know who's scoring in this game. Lamar, I don't think is 100. He doesn't have the same burst. So you take away his legs and mobility against that defensive line. You also can't run it on Cleveland. And if there's a ton of wind, that only hurts the Ravens. The Browns can't throw it downfield. You can run a little bit on the Ravens. The Browns have been incredible at home. Crazy stat I'll finish with. Last 3 years, Browns at home, 13-8 against the spread, 62%. On the road, 5-17 against the spread, 22%. That's worse than the league. Worse than the Titans, who never cover. They've caught a touchdown or more at home 3 times in the past 3 years. Not only have they covered all 3, they won all 3 outright. They beat the Ravens last year, the 49ers, remember that game last year, and the Packers earlier this year. They shut down everyone at home. No, I mean, I don't think are the Ravens going to get more than 17 with a not 100% Lamar? I don't think so. Can the Browns get to 10? Sure. So I bet the Browns plus the points there, getting over a touchdown. And what should be, the total's down to like 39.
Dylan Gabriel might not be good, though.
He's terrible. I'm backing Gabriel and McCarthy. What could go wrong? It's just going to have to be in the back. Like, this has to be a Browns 17-13, 13-10 type of game. Because
15-13, something weird.
Yeah, Gabriel is... They're going to have to do it how they should have beat Burrow. They did beat Love and the Packers, and they held the Dolphins at 3 points. But, you You're gonna have to. They're just gonna have to run it, rely on their D. The weather should help a ton, though.
Okay, Stuckey, thank you, and enjoy the weekend. I'm sure you got a lot going on: college basketball, college football, NFL. Good time of year. So I will talk to you. I'll talk to you in a week.
Absolutely. Have a good one, brother.